You ever heard this? If you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Have you heard that? If you believe this, you probably feel like it's a commitment to excellence. But let me tell you, it is a lie. And it's probably the single most expensive piece of advice you've ever received as an entrepreneur. It's a huge trap, funneling you into a prison with walls that are constantly closing in, and it's costing you a fortune. So, whether you're a solopreneur who's terrified to make your first hire, or if you're an owner of a newly acquired business and you just can't trust your new team, the feeling is the same. You look at a task and you know deep in your bones that you could do it better. You can do it faster. You can do it with more care than anyone else. And so you do. You see yourself the guardian of quality, the hero, the one who can make sure that that everything is done completely perfectly and to your exact voice and to exactly the message that you're trying to get out. But what you're actually paying is a hidden tax for this behavior. I call it the martyr's tax. It's the invisible price you pay in loss of growth, in frustrated employees, in your own burnout, and all for the privilege of doing it all yourself. Isn't that a wonderful prize? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to stop paying that tax. By the way, I'm Mel, and I've worked for years with new business owners and helped them unlock over $600,000 in hidden profits. And today, I'm going to give you a simple 3-step framework to delegate outcomes, not just tasks, so you can finally get things off your plate without sacrificing one iota of quality. So, why do we do this? Why do we have this thing of if you want it done right, you do it yourself? Why do we cling to tasks that we know we should be letting go of? It's not because we're control freaks. That's not the issue. It's deeply rooted in 3 deep-seated fears. Fear number 1 is the obvious fear of having it being done wrong, right? So this isn't just about typos. It's that fear that a team member, someone other than yourself, will misrepresent your brand, your voice, your very identity. You feel that if you're not the one to write and approve it, it won't sound exactly like you. It might be a mere close imposter of you. It might be, something that's similar to you. But you are looking for that deep authenticity to represent who you are and what you bring. And that's a good thing. But the fear that it can't happen with anyone else, especially with people who are working around you and for you, is a little bit of a irrational fear at this point. Fear number 2, the fear of being found out. Now, this one is subtle. Many founders secretly fear that their team can do everything without them. That, someone else is, even more you than, the opposite of fear number 1 is someone else is even more you than you are, and that you'll become unnecessary, or that things will be happening in your business and you're completely left in the dark and don't know what's going on. If you're not the one saving the day, what's your value? If you're not the one who holds secrets and who knows how to do something a special way that no one else can do, why are you necessary, right? That's the subconscious fear. So you create problems that only you can solve, and you become the bottleneck to prove your own importance to yourself, right? Because no one else needs that proven to them. Fear number 3 is the fear of wasted time. It just feels easier to just do it yourself than take the time to teach someone else how to do it. It'll only take me 5 minutes or 20 minutes max, you say. But that's 20 minutes, 3 times a day, every day, forever. You're trading short-term convenience for long-term imprisonment with walls constantly closing in. And if you're going to be real, it never really takes just that 5 minutes or 20 minutes. It really takes longer than that. So, you know, there's that. So recognizing which of these fears is driving you is the first step to breaking free. Or if it's all three or a combination of two or whatever, but, recognizing it is the first step. So let me show you how this played out with a client of mine. So I worked with a client, we're going to call her Maria. She runs a high-end boutique catering company. And she's a brilliant chef and has fantastic ideas for, that could just keep her business like highly profitable and profiting, right? But when we met with her, her business was completely stalled. And that was because she had appointed herself, I call it, the chief approval officer of everything. So her team would get a project about 90 to 99% done. It could be anything from a new brochure for a wedding expo, a promotional email for a holiday special, or an updated bio for a feature in a magazine. But then it would hit her desk and it would die. She never had time to approve it, and she always wanted, and even when she did have time to look at something, it always had to be completely walked through on a call, and of course she was too busy to have that call. So here's this thing, just stalling, something that could have already been done and out if she let the team do it, or it could have been a quick approval. She could look at it and be like, okay, this is good, but instead it turns into a whole thing that she needs to walk through, she needs to discuss it, it needs to be a meeting, and then that pushes other things off. She'd agonize over a single adjective in a menu description. She'd agonize over, we'd have a bio ready to go, and then she said, well, let's go back and all discuss the why of why we're even doing this, or, what's the whole point of this, or what is our whole goal that we're doing this quarter. And it's like, yes, those are all important things, but are they important right now? Like, the rest of us are working under those things at all times and getting to the 99% completion point with all those things in mind. So why do we need to kind of unpack them as we're trying to get a task out? As important as they are, why do they have to be done now? Anyway, what she was doing every time she was doing this, she has really good intention behind it. So it's not like, she's trying to be a bottleneck, but what she was doing is trying to protect the brand and protect the workflow and protect the quality of everything that gets put out and protect the authenticity of it representing her. But instead, what she was doing was creating a massive bottleneck. Her team would often be fully paralyzed just waiting for her. And then the worst thing about it is her own to-do list, the high value work that only she could do, would be sitting there gathering dust. The craziest part is that the tasks on her list were the real money makers. The other things that she would come and be this chief approval officer of would be things that were being delivered, that were promised, that were already kind of understood, that were already almost approved themselves, right? But she had the process that she had to approve it, and then she had the process of how she approved it that took a lot of time. So then something like calling her personal contacts to get more luxury or high ticket contracts sold would not happen. And the proof that this was like a cost would be that in the rare moments in which she would get to do that, when she would just make a quick text to one of her contacts, that stuff would accordion out and maybe generate over $200,000 in just a few months. And that's what happened with just a handful of text. But if she's busy paying the Martyr tax and sacrificing these thousands of dollars in new business for the privilege of personally approving every brochure, that money's not coming in, right? So, how do we fire the chief approval officer? Well, we used a 3-step framework to delegate outcomes. Again, it's delegating the outcomes, not just the task. And here's how we did it with Maria. So, first we defined what would be a win, right? So, in one sentence. So, not just like, let's get the brochure done, and then the idea is like get the brochure done with this vague goal of make it perfect. Instead of that, we created a measurable win. Create a brochure that generates at least 10 qualified inquiries per event. So now we have something that's truly testable. We have something that can be proven, and we also have the ability to say to Maria, like, okay, just let this brochure go out without your approval. Let the copywriter or let some other staff or employee or contracted person get that out, and then we wait to see results. And if those results are met, then we know that person can just do that job and doesn't need you in it at all. And if the results aren't made, then we will actually look at the whole situation and see what we can tweak. Instead of spending all this time walking through the brochure before it even goes out and all this kind of stuff, let's just get a measurable framework in which to measure the win, and we don't have to worry about all the walking through. And we won't have to worry about Maria's subjective opinion. And this was... doing this was really something that we realized that Maria was looking for, right? She didn't realize she was looking for it either. She just knew that she was looking for outcomes that satisfied her. What she didn't know is that we could actually put actual measurements to what those are. And that made a world of difference. Now, step 2 was to transfer 100% of ownership and approval power. This one was hard. We took Maria out of the approval chain, so then things like her marketing manager would be giving the final say on all marketing materials. We used a simple phrase to try to, deal with the firing of the chief approval officer. We used a simple phrase. We said, unless it is factually incorrect or legally risky, you are not allowed to touch it. So her job was no longer to approve. Her job was to simply trust. It was terrifying for her, but it was liberating for her team. And once she kind of really, after she forced herself into it and kind of got used to it, then it became very, very liberating to her. And, we look back and she doesn't even remember. She doesn't even remember how she used to be. So I can admit to you that that's a tough one, because it's just kind of like a cold turkey. It's just like, an addictive person, just stop the addiction cold turkey. And that is hard. But it's a small thing, so we can focus all of our energies on it and just try to do it. Maybe make a time period. We did that with Maria, and so then she was able to, finally get used to it. And again, as she's seeing the results of things being approved and going out and perfect or getting perfect results and good outcomes without her, and her having more time to do other things that only she could do. Okay, so now step number 3 is to schedule the win check-in, not the walkthrough, right? And so since we banned the idea that she could approve things, we put measurements on things like that. So that was also like no walkthrough there. We wait till we see the results, and then we correct if things need correcting. We don't walk through before, right? So we banned all walkthrough meetings. They were a black hole of time, basically. Instead, her manager would send a weekly three bullet point email. Here's what we launched. Here are the results of the win we defined, the measurable win we defined, and here's what's next. It was a 30-second read, not a 60-minute meeting, and it kept Maria informed of the outcome without sucking her into the process. So, the results were that the team was energized, right? And Maria's calendar was cleared up, giving her space to make all those high value calls that actually generate massive revenue into business. She stopped being the chief approval officer and finally had the time to be the true CEO. So the martyr's tax is real, and it is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. But you can choose to stop paying it today. The first step is breaking free from this trap and understanding the specific pattern that's causing it. Are you a polisher like Maria is, or was, like Maria was, because she isn't anymore, I'm proud to say. But are you a polisher? Are you a juggler who just really wants to maybe you don't want to, but really just has a habit of putting a lot of things on your plate? So that's why being the chief approval officer is not a big deal to you. It seems like not a big deal of a job to take on because, you can take on a lot as a juggler. Are you an overthinker? Do you need to walk through every single word in a bio or on a brochure? Your bottleneck has a name. And when you can name it, that's the first step in getting to fix it, right? So that's why I created the finish line style quiz. It's a 2-minute diagnostic that helps you pinpoint your exact style so you can stop being a martyr and get back to being the true CEO that we know you can be, generating tons and tons of profits in your business. So go ahead, discover your style. You can get a personalized action plan by taking the quiz. The link is right in the description at the top of the description here in the description of this video. You can find your style. You can stop paying the martyr tax, and you can get back to building your empire. Thank you for listening.